We just look like it's a horror movie.
Let us tell you this spooky story.
The spooky story of Norma the North.
It's about a talking bear and his lemmings, and Ken Jeong is like a corporate executive. I'm really high, children. Listen to Grandpa Drunkie's story.
Never before have I seen a movie so composed of all the elements they think kids will like,
Yes.
but containing nothing.
Uh-huh.
Like just beat for beat, things they jigsawed together.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were like, lemmings are like the Minions, we'll stick them in there. We'll do a bunch of dance scenes. Like it seemed composed of entirely trailer scenes of them dancing.
This Arctic shake will really catch on, just like the Lemmings. I can't wait for the Lemmings movie to come out. This isn't a movie. This is an audition reel for a proposed Lemmings movie.
And constantly they just cut to the lemmings doing something cute.
And by cute, you mean farting?
Farting. So much farting in this movie.
What do you think, Lemmings?
Yeah, like, it started out like it was like places where farts fit, where it's like, this is still stupid, but it fits, and then it would just turn into like, these are the lemmings. What? Why did they fart? There's no reason for that.
Lemmings, are you okay? They don't speak, they're like the Minions in that they don't.
It's gibberish speak.
It's gibberish speak, and there's a lot of them, and that's it. They are the Minions. That's exactly what they are. And they sound like they're the Minions crossed with Salacious Crumb.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that.
And goddamn, that was obvious from the fucking trailer that
They even had a line about it.
Oh, yeah.
She says, like, oh, very marketable. It's like, oh,
Lemmings.
wow.
They're cute and marketable. Oh, well, I guess now I know what to get Violet for Valentine's Day. An actual lemming.
This is a movie so badly written, they actually had "as you know" in the dialogue.
Yeah.
As you know, exposition. It's oh my god, you got it's a bunch of stock plot stuff. Like you could guess everything that's gonna happen, except done in the most contrived way possible.
You can guess everything that's going to happen because they literally tell you everything that's going to happen. Well, Norm, I know that you actually want to get your home back in the Arctic, so here's what we're going to do. And then they do it, the end.
Pretty much.
It's such awkward exposition dump. That's like the most forced exposition dumps I've seen since like Last Airbender. Where like in Last Airbender when Zuko's like, hey kid, come here, tell me what you know about the prince. Well, and then in this, it opens and Norm, who's a polar bear, voiced by Rob Schneider.
Rob Schneider is a polar bear.
Yeah, until one day he went to the city, and the city is a lot scarier than it looks.
Okay, but he adjusted very, very quickly to this. Like, how did he know what a security camera was? How did he know what any of this shit was? Like, immediately he's like, oh, he's got cameras everywhere. He's watching us. Like,
because
how do you know that? You're a polar bear.
Well, even before he goes to the city, they know what to make reference to. They even, depending on convenience, they even will have like an earpiece or like a headphone set or some kind of modern technology. That's just, they're going to make a joke because this bear is like a dance choreographer. So he's got a headset on and a clipboard. And it's not even a fish out of water story. He seems to know every single thing about the city. He adjusts very easily. And at the beginning of it, Norm is chasing this... A seal. He's chasing a seal because it starts out about two different things. One of which is he's destined to become the king of the Arctic, which I guess polar bears are. It's originally, maybe the script was about lions, but then they realized The Lion King was a movie. So here's, let's make him a bear. And so then he gets the seal, and the seal's like, ah! And then Norm goes, Well, I'm not gonna eat you, and here's why. You see, when I was younger, I learned that I could speak human. That plus question mark equals I can't eat this seal. I don't know what one has to do with the other than they need that exposition dump in there. So that's the other part of Norm's backstory, is that he can speak human. And let me see if I can wrap my head around this. Because all of the animals, except for the lemmings, can speak. But Norm is special.
And his grandpa.
But they can all speak. But they are special because humans see them speak, but it just seems like that's because they're the only ones who have gone up to a human to say anything. Like, nothing seems to stop any other animal from going up to a person and saying something.
Well, they had the confusing backstory scene where he discovered he can speak human, where he's sitting with a couple other cubs, and one of them says something. And then he ducks in front and says something, and the girl reacts to that. So, obviously, they are not hearing the other animals, just him.
For me, it seemed like he was granted, maybe I'd already checked out by this point. 2 minutes in.
It's easy to check out of this, because there's nothing to invest you in it at all.
It just seemed to me in that scene, he just said something the loudest, and that's what the kid heard.
Yeah, that's what made it confusing until she explained. Like, she's like, oh no, you're speaking human. Because apparently he didn't even know that he was speaking it, but they could still understand it, even though he was speaking human.
But then later on, they're in their, like, cave, and, like, the leader, polar bear, or whatever, is arguing with him, and then he says to Norm, he says something like, you cut out that human speak, or something like that. And I'm like, you're all talking. Like, I don't know what's happening here. You're all speaking the same language.
It's not very well thought out, like everything in this movie, really.
Yeah, because the big, okay, so Norm needs to do something brave so he can become the king of the Arctic. Meanwhile, there is a housing company that wants to build condos in the Arctic, and they find out about this because they see a commercial that's there being filmed, so they're doing what they can to sabotage this commercial, which they do. They get the footage destroyed, the lemmings do their little dance number, and their minions shit. To which the director of this commercial says, well, that's it, I quit, gets on a jet ski, and just goes around, like, the corner into the mountains, never to be seen again. So he's dead.
They have, they're sabotaging this commercial.
Yeah.
And there's a reel, there's like a reel of the film, and they're like, well, maybe we can save this. And the lemmings cut out the ice around it and it sinks. And then the assistant guy stands on it and goes, there goes the footage, and sinks into the water. So we never see him again after this. So either he drowned or he died of hypothermia. Because that guy's dead.
That guy's dead. The director who went off on the jet ski is dead because he's going out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, a seal's dead. They have an orca just eats the seal.
Oh, it's that
definitively dead.
There was a couple of light laughs that I got in this movie. One of them was I think unintentional, but then there was another time, there was a couple other times where I kind of laughed. One of them was when they're watching the film crew, and a couple of, like, the bear and the lemmings, a couple of other, the caribou, because, you know, they're playing cards, and one of them goes, "Caribou-ya!" That's one of the first lines in the movie.
They're betting their horns? I was confused by that.
Oh, they'll grow back. That's what the movie said.
Yeah, but why are they... What use does he have for these? I just want to know...
Double horns.
How is this a currency for them?
Because he can put it on his ass now. and so, like, the animals are kind of peeking around the corner of this thing, like, boop, lemmings, caribou, and then the whale. It's like, that's kind of funny.
I think the only time I really laughed... There was a couple times. There was when the bad guy, they show him arguing with the woman in the background, and it's clear that he just comes up with nonsense to say. Like, he's just like, I can't believe that. He just starts speaking gibberish.
Yeah. That
was funny to me. And then Norm is put into this flamboyant costume, and he comes out in it, and they're like, oh, he finally came out, and he goes, oh, just did.
I think I just did.
Yeah, like, it's like, are you ready to come out or something like that? I think I just did. I'm like, what?
That's all right. There was a puberty joke earlier in the movie.
Oh, that's true.
And he goes like, I was a kid and I had just started to grow fur and my voice lowered. So I guess he started out bald.
He said more fur on his body.
More
because
fur.
clearly that made sense.
Yeah, there was just fur everywhere except his junk, apparently.
The whole movie is trying to do like this Chicken Little thing where it's like he's a polar bear but no one can figure out that he's a polar bear, but it doesn't make a lot of sense. It's like you see guys in mascot costumes right next to him. It's not that hard.
Oh, I loved it when, well, before he gets to the city, when this was my favorite line in the movie, when, because tourists go to the Arctic and they see all the bears and everything, and they want the bears to attack the seals, but Norm doesn't want to do anything scary, so he starts dancing, because, you know, we got to get that Arctic shake in, because that's totally going to be a thing. And so these couple of people are taking pictures, and then the guy goes, "That bear's not scary. That bear doesn't belong in the Arctic. That bear belongs on Broadway."
Just your reaction after that too.
It was such a bad movie line.
It was. It was terrible.
That bear belongs on Broadway. Coming soon.
There's so many terrible lines like that, though. Like, the whole thing was just that nonsense movie made by adults for kids thing where they think that kids will like it and they won't care and you don't have to put quality in it.
No. They go off to the, I feel like this is a problem that could take care of it fucking self.
Yeah, like, all he had to do was do nothing. They had no selling points, and it was clear they had no selling points.
For the condos?
Yeah, the condos, they had no approval rating. The condos could have sunk into the ocean at any time because
Yes.
the ice was cracking underneath. There were polar bears charging at people. They thought that would sell.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no. Who would want that?
Yeah.
No one.
When the girl who works for the company when they lose the reel of film for this commercial, she grabs the handheld camera. Ice is breaking off. There's like an avalanche is starting. She's running. Norm is chasing her, growling, and she thinks this is perfect for a commercial. So she's filming it, and the CEO of the company, Ken Jeong, is looking at it like, "Why, this is perfect." I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's a selling point to fucking live there. The ice is cracking. There's a bear chasing this woman. Sign me up. I want to live on a fucking condo in fucking minus 100-degree weather." This Norm does not have to go to the city to stop this from happening. If they start building condos there, that problem will be solved really fucking fast.
The part that was dumb to me, well, a lot of it was dumb to me, but like, okay. For some reason, the grandpa, who can also speak human, is being held captive by Ken Jeong's character, and it's not entirely clear why. You can assume maybe he wants to exploit him for something, but all it is
so.
like, he just goes like, well, when you fight the man, sometimes you get tranked and then captured or whatever. But this has apparently been years at a time.
Yeah.
I don't know, did they start building condos then? How did he get in contact with him and get taken to New York and kept in a cage for years trying to get him to talk? I really don't understand that. But Ken Jeong's character realizes, he's like, wait a minute, that's another talking bear. we should get him. And so, of course, Norm is with the marketing lady at a sushi place.
And with the marketing lemmings.
With the marketing lemmings. And he's at a sushi place, because of course no one knows that he's a bear.
Although he talks, he's definitely a guy in a costume.
He's a guy in a costume. And Ken Jeong comes in with a tranquilizer dart, like a crazy person, with a tranquilizer gun, and starts like shooting at him, and then Norm takes him out. And this is filmed and then put on the news and goes viral.
Oh.
Somehow, their approval rating goes up. Because of Norm, but they neglect the fact that this is the head of the company that he's taking down, and suddenly their approval rating goes up. It's like, this crazy person with a gun was the head of that company attacking him, and they're like, oh, we love you, Norm.
That would be like if the CEO of like if like BP, if their approval winnings went up because an otter slapped the CEO of BP in the face.
Yeah, like this
Oh,
should not be rooting for that. That's not how that works.
This movie is so lazy that when it shows this clip on the news, it's not from any kind of... They put a filter over it to make it look like it's security footage, but it's not. It is just showing you that scene again.
Yeah!
With a filter over it.
How
with
are you
the
that
same
lazy?
Yeah, with the same angles, the same... It's the same scene again. They just put like... They just made it a little fuzzier. And... So when I... This is the best thing I could compare this to, when he figures out that Norm is not a man in a costume and is actually a bear. It would be like if I found a talking cat and thought it was somebody in a costume and then went, wait a minute, and then went and looked at Lloyd and went, that's a real cat.
Which, I guess, written differently could be funny. Because the Chicken Little stuff is funny. Mm-hmm. That's the joke. You know, it's like, oh, it's a bear, or it's a chicken, but no one knows it's chicken. Oh, it's a bear, but no one knows it's a bear. But it never really gets there. It's just very confusing most of the time.
It's easy for everyone in, I guess this is New York, to believe that this is just a guy in a costume and it's not a real bear, because apparently every other person in New York is not only a furry, but strictly just polar bears.
You never see any other costumes.
Yeah. So he makes friends with one guy who dresses up like a polar bear and acts in the street and stuff like that, and they're auditioning polar bears, actors to play polar bears for this commercial, and there's just a lot of people lining up for this. They got their makeshift outfits, they got everything. Like, they've been waiting for this opportunity to happen.
Okay, everyone in the movie is so stupid. Like, no one knows how to interact with a wild animal in this. Mm-hmm. Like, it's like, okay, before they thought that he was in a costume, when they have, like, the stupid tourists, and they have the origin story of how he found out he could speak human.
Yeah.
The tourists are there taking pictures. They're like, oh, look, there's these little polar bear cubs. And then the little girl's like, I want one! And starts running toward 3 polar bear cubs, and the parents just stand there and watch. It's like... You don't just run up to a wild polar bear.
Well, now get the cameras out. Something crazy's gonna happen.
Yeah, like the parents could have showed up. The babies could have done something. These are wild, dangerous animals.
Well, they're very creepy looking animals, because that female polar bear was weirdly... I don't know how to describe it. It was weirdly off-putting.
I forgot she existed, because she's clearly just there because he has to have a love interest.
Yeah, who just bookends the movie. She's at the beginning and then at the end after they've had kids.
Yeah, she gets no definable characteristics. Like, I could tell you nothing about... I could not even tell you her name. But they sure booked it having kids. I'm like, how much time has passed? By the end, they're looking at the stars like, oh, yeah, I bet the humans are looking at the stars, too.
Was that the 5th time they cut up to the stars at the end?
Yeah,
to the polar bear... to the Norm of the North constellation.
It looked like his ghost was floating in the sky. The funniest part, though, was when he and his grandpa, they shove off all of the condos. They, disconnect it from the boat and shove it into the sea. And there's this whole dramatic scene where the waves come over them, and he's almost drowned, and then he loses them. He comes out, and he's like, Grandpa? Lemmings? Fade to black.
Yeah, for a few seconds.
And then Brad just goes, credits.
I fucking wish. Oh my god. Then I would sit here and be like, this movie just trolled us. Like,
it was so perfect, because it did look like it was cutting the credits.
Yeah.
Of, commercial break in the middle of the theater. Oh my gosh, there was a lot of parts near the end where it would be hilarious just to fade to credits.
There was at least twice where something like that happened.
Yeah, they're like, where's Grandpa? We couldn't find him. Credits.
The other part that I kind of snickered at a little bit was right before they go underwater, when Okay, right before that, and I kind of checked out a little bit. How did they end up underwater? I kind of zoned out hardcore during that.
They jumped off of the barge as a tidal wave was coming over them. And then, like, a piece of, I guess, one of the condos fell on Norm and sunk him to the bottom.
Okay, I remember now. And then when they're sinking, there's, like, a little piece of the boat that's going down. And the lemmings were dressed as, like, the violin players from the Titanic.
Oh, is that what the reference was?
Yes.
I was wondering why you were laughing. I was like, what's that funny? Just another costume thing.
No, it's because, you know what, if I were to... Because that's a real thing that happened. Like, those violin players, that really happened in real life.
Did?
Yeah.
Aww.
And so I hope that if I die tragically, that 100 years from now, the sacrifice that I made on a sinking ship to keep playing the music will be reenacted by lemmings in a shitty January animated film. It's a really quick shot. Like, this thing is going down and the lemmings suddenly with violins and cellos and tuxedos. They give them every excuse to dance. Like, they'll be part where they're hiding in fruit just so they can have fruit on their heads and do, like, a mambo thing.
It's just a series of setups for them. That's really the only thing. This is such a cynical movie is what it is.
Incredibly cynical. It's
like it's just a lot of nothing. It just feels like absolutely no care or thought put into it.
These
it's
lemmings
just meant
make
to
it
market
happen.
things. Yeah,
Give me lemmings.
They're basically the bad guy in
Yes.
this. Is what it is. It's sort of fitting.
Yeah, it's like when you see like a TV show that's about making a TV show, like episodes, that Matt LeBlanc show, where like the network executive will be like, vampires are popular on that other network. I want my fucking vampires.
That's exactly what it was.
Yes, it's totally what this movie is.
And it's weird. It's sort of this weird meta thing where they make it kind of like that in the movie. I mean, you know, that's only part of it. There's a lot of other stuff going on, but I mean, it's exactly it. When they say, like, oh, these are very marketable, that's just them recreating what happened.
Yeah, and it didn't seem like it was, like, they say that in the movie, but this movie is not satire.
No. It's not like a real joke where you could kind of laugh at them being self-aware about it. Like, it doesn't seem like... I guess that's why it doesn't work, because it doesn't seem like they are that self-aware. I think they think that was going to work.
The poster.
Kids are going to eat it up.
Oh yeah, the poster is just the lemmings. The poster is the lemmings holding up like the logo, the Norm of the North logo. It's like, wow, they fucking want that shit to happen. You know, it would be one thing if they're funny, but they weren't. They were really annoying, and they were kind of off-putting, like they had weird, janky teeth. They were like just kind of gnarly looking.
Well, it was just a series of things strung together that don't really connect very well with the lemmings, because they had the joke with the lemmings is that they're virtually indestructible.
Yeah.
They keep getting squished and then they'll just pop back up. And they have a scene at the beginning where one of the lemmings is like motions for him to squish him to demonstrate this, and he does, and then he's like, "Oh no, I've killed him! I can't go down for this."
Wait for it.
Happens. Okay, and it's like, all right, we have established that he knows that he cannot kill them.
Yeah.
And yet,
at the end of the
movie, after everything that's happened, a post-credit sequence, or just before the credits, then he is dancing and does a crowd dive onto the lemmings, which is stupid anyway. And then all of the lemmings separate, like they're like, "Oh no, you've killed them!" Like they don't know.
The music cuts out. Record screech.
Yeah, and then wait for it. Like, the lemmings seem surprised, even though they should be the ones that for sure know that this is what's going to happen.
I was having none of that. Like, I looked at you and just went, we've already established this 90 minutes ago. This movie can't even keep up with itself. It was one of those, what would you even call that? Like, a post-movie but pre-credit scene.
Yeah.
Like, the movie had ended,
we're going to get one last zinger in, because they know the kids don't want to sit through the credits. credits.
Uh-huh.
It probably would have been post credits if it weren't a kids movie. It's just there to be like, here's one last joke to send you out.
Oh, post credits should be the director who went off on the jet ski, just frozen like Jack Torrance.
He finds the assistant that drowned,
Yeah.
who surfaces in an ice cube. Duh!
Yeah. Dead. Help!
Yeah, just so you know he's okay.
Yeah, just so we've already established that death exists in this universe.
It for sure does.
At least if you're a seal, you're gonna die.
You know the thing too, like, he doesn't even become king by the end.
No.
The old grandpa is still king, presumably until he dies,
Mm-hmm.
Norm will become king, but why did they even bother with all this, like, you shall become king bullshit, when by the end he doesn't?
No, grandpa's still alive, like, whatever. That would be like if the Lion King ended and it turned out his dad was still alive.
Yeah.
This was just a test. Truly one day you will become king.
Do you think maybe there was a draft where the grandpa was dead, and they were like, nah, make the grandpa alive in it, it's fine.
Probably. Or maybe, like, it's just a lot of things that are just shoehorned in, where they should have picked one or the other and they went with both. They should have either picked, like, he wants to be king, or they should have picked he's special because he talks human.
Yeah.
You're fucked either way, so I guess just do both.
Eugene Levy bird was pointless.
Oh, that
Like,
bird with very prominent Jewish features.
He looked like Eugene Levy.
Yeah.
That's what he didn't sound like him, but he looked like him. And
It
he's
was
like,
Bill Nighy was the voice of that one.
okay, and he's like, oh, you're destined to become king. Only one person could be the best king. And then they act like it's this whole prophecy thing, which makes it even more pointless that he doesn't become king.
Was that also the bird that pooed on a guy earlier?
He did during the sabotage. He pooed
Yeah.
on the guy,
And then the guy...
and the guy goes, "Oh poop."
Oh, poop.
They got lots of pissing jokes with the
A
Levys.
lot of pissing jokes.
A lot of pissing.
More than one, and each one of them went on a long time.
I was pretty much there for none of those jokes. So, like, I was every time, like, ugh, again.
Lemmings, there's your toilet, and it's a fish tank. This is in the waiting room of the condo area.
Which would make sense if they acted like Norm didn't know what human life was like, which he shouldn't. But most of the movie he does, so I just don't understand. How was he able to eat 2 puffer fish and be fine? That's not a polar bear diet. Like, that would poison him. They were fresh. It wasn't like the guy even prepared them. That would kill him.
All this movie, all you need to know is that bears eat fish. That's just it. Bears eat fish.
They have a line in there where they go, "What in the name of salmon?" or something like that,
Yeah.
which is clunky anyway. But I turned to you, I was like, do polar bears even eat salmon?
I don't know.
I don't think they're native to the Arctic.
That kind of stupidity I don't mind necessarily, because it wouldn't make the movie any better or worse. I mean, it really just kind of feels like the writers just, I don't know, they just eat raw fish.
What's the salmon?
They just, let's give them some, like, blowfish. And they needed it to be blowfish for the gag where it gets shot with the dart, but with the dart
then it
gun,
deflates.
and it deflates and flies around the thing. That's the only reason why it was blowfish.
But
And
it was still alive. You can't just... That bear should be dead. That bear should have been dead. That's not native polar bear food. Okay. First of all, that's not enough food to keep a polar bear alive. I don't know how he's still alive through this whole thing.
Actually, I was wondering that too. It's like,
And then-
what is he eating? Because
Yeah,
he doesn't eat seals.
Yeah, he's a polar bear, but you don't see him eat, I think that's the only thing you ever see him eat. It's just a couple of, he doesn't even eat all of them, just a couple of them. And when he's in the model home, he's living in the model home, which they have established can just be picked up by a crane and taken. It is not, like, rooted to anything. There's no foundation, which is shitty house building anyway. So
Yeah.
again, how did they get approval for any of this? But he's using, like, the water and the toilets in there, so it's got working
He uses a
plumbing.
bidet. There's a bidet joke.
Yeah. There's
The water
working
shoots
plumbing.
back up inside of you.
Oh. And they have plumbing and electricity and all these things and a fridge. All these things that doesn't make any sense. The fridge is stocked.
But the lemmings eat all the food, all the
Yeah.
Chinese food, and the turkey that was apparently in there.
But why was this stuff in there? Why was it working? It was not attached to anything.
Weren't the... Oh, why was it on the... Yeah.
Yeah, like how did they have working plumbing or electricity? Why was the food stocked if it was just a model home? No one was living there.
Because you needed a joke about the bidet water shooting up in his ass.
Stupid. And then he's got a towel around him, and then he drops it like, oh, I'm naked. You're naked through the whole thing. Doesn't make any sense. Norm of the North, you guys did not think through your jokes. You did not think any of this through.
Pause for joke, fart. That's it. Fart, piss, lemmings.
Yeah, like
That's the entire movie.
I liked Ken Jeong in it only because I like him.
I'm
Like, when
not
they
a
would
big Ken
just, like-
Jeong fan.
I like him. Like, when they would just, like, they'd have scenes where something was going on, probably the bear dancing or whatever the fuck, and then cut to him just laughing maniacally for no reason.
His character was... It seems like maybe they originally asked Chris Kattan to play this part, and then decided no, and went with Dr. Ken instead. So the character that he plays in this is this really spastic, like, has no bones in his body, is frequently, like, just rubbery, slipping around all over the goddamn place, like he's fucking, like, Stretch Armstrong or some shit. Like, it's kind of like... I think it was like the second episode of like Family Guy where there was William Shatner. He wasn't...
when he would just like jump every time he said a line. That was exactly what that was. Yeah.
Peter, I never knew someone who would choose family over television, and he's popping up out of the plant and like behind horses and shit.
Yeah, it was basically that, but not funny.
No, it wasn't. It was giving me a fucking headache. I didn't know why he was like this. It seemed like maybe this was what they originally wanted to do with, like, the villain from Food Fight. But, you know, they kind of lost the funding for that, and that became that nightmare fuel of a fucking mess villain.
He started out kind of hippie-like, but then it was just dropped and never mentioned again. I didn't really understand that.
He's like a stereotypical, like, evil network executive, kinda. Like, whenever you see, like, the evil, like, movie studio boss in a movie, it's always like this. Like, it's this kind of weenie little guy with a fake ponytail and little glasses and big flamboyant purple shirts and shit and, like, a goatee. And so it kept throwing me off because I kept having to remind myself, like, oh, he's just a CEO of a condo building company.
Yeah.
All right.
It was confusing, too, that it was called Green... whatever.
Green Homes.
Green Homes. Because, I mean, that was his name, right? Green... Something Green?
Was it Green Homes or Green Houses? Because
Something like that. But
like greenhouse gas.
Green... that would be almost
movie.
a joke.
I think that might be what it was.
Terrible. But, like, it was called that, I think, because it was his name. But then that just made me think more of, like, green hippie thing, which still didn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah. It just kept throwing my ADD out of fucking whack every time he kept moving, zig-zagging all over the goddamn fucking screen.
Yeah, there were lots of parts to tune out of. But the thing is, you still knew where it was going. It wasn't hard to figure out where you were at, because it barely felt like watching a movie, honestly. Like, it was like, psh, done, alright, I guess.
It was...
I mean, it wasn't like a pleasant sit or anything, but it wasn't like... It just went out of my mind.
Oh god, same here. I can't believe I remembered this much about the movie. I really checked out so hard in this movie, especially towards the end. Like, oh my god, fuck this, fuck your goddamn lemmings, shove them up your ass. And when we got here, at first the theater was empty, and they didn't even bother to clean it between showings. It was a dump in there. There's like cups, popcorn on the ground. I leaned over to you like, in the time that we walked in here, did the rapture happen?
We're joking about doing rapture reviews. We're like, no, for whoever's left behind, they need to know about Norm of the North.
Yeah. You know, while the fucking like, tribulation force and shit's going on. Sometimes you'd need to break away and see a movie, but make sure it's not Norm of the North.
I like the idea that, like, after the rapture happens, they still run the reel. They're like, well, we might as well not disappoint the customers.
Well, it's like, or it could be like, you know, like the Omega Man, where Charlton Heston just goes to the movie theater and just starts up the projector himself, sits there with his mannequin friend. That's what I would do.
But not watching Norm of the North.
You know, in Charlton Heston's case, I think he only had one movie to choose from, and it was Woodstock. So, yeah, at least I've got 12 to choose from. Well, maybe 3. Pretty sure 9 of those are Star Wars.
I think that was what we were joking about. Like, after it's just like, oh, we can watch any movie we want. What are we doing in Norm of the North now?
Well, we've already gotten the tickets. Seeing everything else.
They didn't even check our tickets. We could have just walked in.
They did not. They did not check our tickets.
They were just there was no ticket person there. Anyone could have just walked in.
They're probably at something stupid. Those are the 2 people who were at Chipmunks. Eventually, like, I went up to go use the restroom, and when I came back in, there was like a grandma and her 2 grandkids in front of me, and they looked back at me. I was right behind them, and they looked back at me, and they go, "Is this the right theater?" And I'm like, "Norm of the North," and they're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "You're in the right place."
Don't sit next to that creep.
They sat all the way in the back. It actually got more people did start coming in.
When it was only like a couple people that had walked in after we did, this grandma and her kids decided to sit in the same row as us. Mm-hmm. I'm like, what about us made you think, like, we need to sit next to them?
We are going to be using language that you will not approve of.
Yeah, like, the whole time, I'm like, I hope they can't hear us.
Yeah. I'm just going to tell you right now, we're going to be having none of this movie.
Dead, hypothermia, what the fuck's happening? We've already established this.
Credits. And then a couple times me just going, ugh.
Yeah, that was me too, like, ugh.
You did that after every fart joke?
After every fart joke. At one point, I don't remember what I was doing this to. I think probably one of the piss jokes. I'm just...
That was, yeah, when they're pissing in the fish tank, which goes on for a solid minute. Everything in the movie stops, because Norm's like, use that, you gotta use the restroom, and they're like, and then they get up there, and they're pissing for... It feels like an eternity. Everything stops happening so that for about 1 or 2 minutes, the lemmings can just piss.
Everything's like, the movie stops, your soul leaves your body, you zone out, and you wait for the joke to end.
The only joke there is just that the lemmings are pissing. Nothing else happens. The fish look kind of annoyed, but not really. They don't die. They don't like, oh, and then flip over and start floating. They are
As if the lemmings don't piss in the snow anyway. Why would they be like, that's a toilet? Why would they even know what a toilet is? They're animals. You know what would be an actual joke during that scene, and not just, oh, piss jokes, 2 seconds of thought, would be like, okay, Norm's a bear. He doesn't know about human things. This is an audition where there's a bunch of people in polar bear suits, but he sees the fish in there and grabs them and eats the fish.
Yeah.
That would be funny. It wouldn't be that new. I've seen similar sort of things, but it would be better than just piss joke.
Or if it was like a 1940s cartoon, like that Bugs Bunny cartoon where it's when that overweight rabbit has a crush on Bugs and is like chasing him around the room, and this used to get shown when I was a kid, but they cut it out now. There's a fish tank that's got like a tiny little castle in it and a goldfish around, and the girl goes to kiss Bugs. Bugs reaches into the tank, pulls up the fish, puts it in, she's got her eyes closed, so he puts the fish in front of his mouth. She kisses the fish. He puts the fish back in the tank, and then the fish has this wide-eyed, shocked look on his face, pulls out a revolver, walks into the castle, and you just see the bubbles go up. Oh, that fish is dead.
I wish Norm of the North had something like that.
Yeah, the lemmings piss, and the fish, like, find some way to hang themselves.
A lemming shoots itself. Buy the lemmings merchandise, kids! This had no pre-screenings. This was
No,
all...
it didn't. This is Friday night. We're seeing this. It did not get pre-screened last night. I can't imagine why. When I looked earlier, it had a 0 on Rotten Tomatoes, and then one motherfucker took pity on it and said it was one of those things where it's like, I don't know, a 2-year-old might like it.
Yeah, 2-year-old didn't know what's going on.
That's like a food critic recommending shit because a dog might like it.
Respect your kids. Take them to something better than this, because it really is just cynical, not well-made stuff that doesn't need to be supported like this. There are other things that you can show kids that are smarter and have more care put into it, and you don't have to suffer.
In terms of, is there any kids movies? I don't know. Take them to see Star Wars for the 10th time.
Honestly, yeah.
Yeah.
Road Chip would be better than that.
Road Chip was a better movie than this. It was like, in terms of animated movies I've seen that don't really belong in a movie theater, this one was not as direct-to-video looking as, like, Legends of Oz was.
So some of the mouth work I thought was a little weird near the beginning, but, like, scenes like when they're in the ocean and the tidal waves coming up, that was very cinematic. It felt like big, like you felt like they were in a big storm.
Yeah.
And that, that was something that the theater served it well, but for the most part, I mean, like, it wasn't anything particularly special.
No, it was Nutjob was a better set than this movie was. At least Nutjob
was better animated than
yeah,
this.
Nutjob was as bad as Nutjob was. It felt theatrical to a point. But this one, no, like it's animation. It's got lacking animation when you're watching it like on a big screen. If you were to rent it and just look at the animation, you'd probably be like, oh, this is fine. And I've seen worse in terms of animation, but it's not. This movie sucks. This movie sucks ass. It's exactly. I've gotten like. I'm just starting to pick just the worst ways to, like, text you about a movie. So when I texted you about this, I'm like, you want to go see Norm of the North Friday? Rob Schneider's a polar bear, and he has to go to the big city with lemmings.
And I go, what time?
I've got to just start picking the worst but accurate ways of describing the movie.
Look, I'm the right person to come to, if that's how you want to pitch it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like earlier when I texted Sarah if in 2 weeks she wants to go see 50 Shades of Black. That's a thing that's happening. Well, my final thought is don't watch this movie.
Yeah, pretty much. Don't go.
No.
Stay inside. Stay warm.
Yeah, don't go out in the cold for this. Fuck that. Take your kids to see a much better icy cold movie. Take them to go see The Revenant. It's got a bear in it in the snow. It's way better than this movie. I don't know what next week is. I think like The Fifth Wave and The Boy, I think.
Oh, perfect double feature.
Some more January shit that I gotta go see. Any final thoughts?
No, I think I pretty much. That's pretty much the sum up of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not good. It's too cynical. I wouldn't bother.
It's the most manufactured piece of cynical crap since they tried shoving Scout's Guide down our throats. That piece of shit. That's my final thought. I'd rather watch this than Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse. What a horrible day you're having if you have to make that choice. See ya.